Hello, Margaret Kuhlman here, Soul Astrology. So, the emphasis on Aries continues. But this new moon is so at the end of the last degree that within hours the sun will be in Taurus. And for the next 4 weeks, the sun will be going through Taurus. Quite a different energy. But still, the new moon's signature for the month is that last degree. The last section of Aries is where we become very much aware of other people and wanting to adjust the expression to be of more value to the rest of the world, as well as finding oneself. So the progress through Aries is starting to look for who one is, this burst of energy out of the oneness of things, gradually realizing that one does have boundaries and what they may be, perhaps, and then the recognition that it can be of value as well. But all the time there is this search for identity, knowing that one is individual, but not knowing what the individual is really. We all have all the signs in us, so there will be an aspect of this in everyone. But where the Aries character is strong, it can be quite confusing for other people, because there seems, with the energetic expression, such certainty, and there really isn't. So this end degree is where the uncertainty perhaps shows up. And with all the last month's effort to find out, to make an impact, to be sure, to make things happen in the world, we reach the end of Aries. We realize that not a lot of what perhaps we might have wanted has actually come about. There has been change, but beyond our personal ability to make it so. So the energy of Aries slows right down. It hits reality, the earth, Taurus, and there can be lots of different reactions to that depending on your character. The North Node is in Taurus still, making its way towards Aries, but still very much Taurus. So to arrive in Taurus at this stage is to really get in touch with the reality we need to know about. And yet Jupiter is still in Aries. So expansion and growth is still a personal matter. And the upside of all this is that the new direction of exploration for self is internal. When it stops being an outside searching in the world for something and the energy stays where it is instead of reaching out, as long as the life force remains active, the search is inward. And this is very, very appropriate for being in the body, our piece of earth, a delightful combination of Aries and Taurus. In the body, in our sensations, our physical experience, but very much our own. And the growth is being encouraged just this month to develop our relationship with the physical. Mercury has been in Taurus for a while. It's slowed down. It doesn't quite reach Uranus, although they're really close, before beginning to retrograde for the rest of the month. There is again an emphasis on looking into the physical, in thinking about that, focusing our minds in the physical expression of spiritual energy, our own access to that. Mercury-Uranus sextile Mars in Cancer, and Mars is squaring Chiron. This looks like the energy, the emotional energy that we find when we look into the body, expression, partly the expression of spirit in the body, is the emotional world. Our own emotions. In Cancer, it's about taking care of ourselves, but it's also about family. It's about being connected. It's that closeness, the bonding. And squaring Chiron in Aries looks like we're going to be discovering where we're not bonded. The bits that were missing early on, which result in our lack of confidence, maybe, in being who we really are. Mercury, just the last couple of days, sextiled Mars and is going to be any minute now retrograding across that sextile again. So we are focused on that and the physicality of it. We're speaking of old trauma, aren't we? Early life traumas. But also learning how to heal where we have been damaged by taking care of ourselves, nurturing the self. And from that position, being able to understand and help others. So it's very much part of the healing process for humanity as a whole, for ourselves specifically. This is very much a month for looking in and looking back to see how we got to this. Mercury rules Gemini. It's about communication. It's about our conscious thoughts and so on. And in Gemini, there we find Venus. Perhaps the communication or the thoughts, the inward thoughts, are about our connections through speech. All the different relationships that we have, the people in our lives. And Venus has recently squared Saturn. So we will be looking most assuredly at the difficult relationships, the ones where things have changed, where circumstances have produced something unexpected. Again, that thought process, communication drawn in, the difficulties of communication. In the full moon chart, we see that as Venus gets to the end of Gemini, she squares Neptune. Even looking at May, so the latter part of this month, there are still difficulties. Although she then moves to trine Saturn, the square to Neptune could indicate misunderstandings, a supersensitivity to words spoken. And with the trining to Saturn arriving, it's very much a call to being clear about what is meant. Because words don't always express what's meant. And of course they don't, because we hear them in our own language. Each individual is different. It's an amazing thing that we ever know what somebody else really means. And the square to Neptune is pointing up that there will be situations where we make mistakes. It's a definite call to check with reality, to ask if one has any sense of negativity or doubt about the words someone else has spoken. Check. The checking gets it right. As long as, bearing in mind that Venus will have to be moving into Cancer to make that trine to Saturn complete, that we take account of the emotional state of people, of ourselves. We don't know how other people feel unless they can tell us. We might suspect, but we have to make those connections through our own body, so it does depend rather what's going on inside. But we can know how we feel, and our desire to not hurt others will be making us much more sensitive to responses and reactions, and much more caring, in fact, of how another receives things. By the end of this month, so by the time we get to the next new moon, Jupiter will just have shifted into Taurus himself, and will be going over the North Node. So growth on this level, the physical, the practical, the earthy growth on this level will be very much supported and encouraged. Taurus is many things. It's the energy of Earth. And of course, finances are a great reflector of energy. So it may have to do with finance. It has to do with property, insofar as that's land and the fact of building and so on. It's the facts of it all. And of course, the true home, our true home, is our body. And our relationship with the body will determine how stable we feel. And of course, at the full moon, the sun will be in Taurus itself, very close to Uranus. More space, the ability to change things, the emphasis on what needs to be different in terms of health regimes or community arrangements. The moon, of course, is opposite in Scorpio, the sign that the South Node has been occupying for over a year. And the moon being the people, or our own emotional states, our automatic reactions, we are going to be definitely continuing to go back through old stuff, how things have become the way they are. It's that bit about standing on the ground you're on, accepting the reality of how things actually are at the deepest level before you can change anything. And of course, in the long run and in the broader perspective, humanity will grow and unfold and become an expression of spirit. Our part in it all is whether we want to be conscious in that growth or not, whether we are prepared to come along and experience the expanded states in future generations or whatever. That's our choice. Enjoy what you have, what there is. Enjoyment, wonder, delightedness, love, of course, a deep underlying trust that spirit is what is. These are signs that we are in the right direction. They expand us, they relax us so that we can expand. Contraction happens in nature as the life force shifts away from something. When one looks at the body of one who was alive and dies out of the body, somehow the body always seems smaller. Life fills out and expands. When we're looking at contraction, it's not wrong. It just means that the life force is shifting its focus. So where we feel contraction, at least we need to look, to notice, to be aware, and maybe to make a fresh personal choice. So the signature of this month, there are lots of things that show a shift in the communication, a slowing down, a holding in, and yet it's with Uranus, which inspires, which helps us to let go of what's not real anymore, the out of date, so that we can properly surf the waves. Give yourself time this month. Give yourself space. Go in. Feel the feeling of the air on your skin, the texture of the clothes you wear, and all the little ways that your body communicates with you. Be there with yourself. And there you are, found. Thank you. Humanity cannot change the course of Earth's unfolding life. You never could, but were blind to this enormity by a tiny time focus. This is meant as an encouragement from a larger time frame to relax, deal with the life you live on Earth, and allow her unfolding process to proceed as it must. The human spirit cannot be killed by automated intelligence. Spirit is all things. All is spirit in reality. Love and light is the truth, obscured only by the darkness of contraction, which would hide the beauty of the way things are. Live now. Open your heart. Radiate your light, the light that contains all life, and love what you meet as you go along. It is all amazing, and you can make it delightful.